Welcome back to the On the Whistle podcast. My name is Ali Howorth, and we are looking towards the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, just a couple days away from that opening game between Morocco and Zambia. What a tasty opening match, and there is no one better to chat to us about the Copper Queens and ahead of their first game than Aaron Mubanga. Aaron, how are you doing, brother?
I'm okay. How are you, Ali?
Good man, good man. It's good to have you back on the pod. Obviously, the last time we chatted, I think it was pre Afcon, with Chipolopolo going into the Afcon. Hopefully, WAFCON will go better for Zambia because the Afcon wasn't amazing. But
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
this Zambian Copper Queen side is no joke, huh?
yeah. Hopefully, this time around we can go all the way. Having been to the semi-finals in 2022, hoping we go all the way this time around.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's no reason why you can't this time because obviously, when you look at Zambia, you look at the amazing talent that's in this team. But we've got to remember that at the last WAFCON, they got to the semifinal, came third place without Barbara Banda, without Racheal Kundananji. This is a serious, serious team coming into the WAFCON. Obviously, you've beaten Morocco on Moroccan soil before. You beat them obviously in Rabat ahead of the Olympics to qualify for the Olympics. You beat them 2-0 after extra time, 1-0 over the 90. This is an exciting time. But before we get into the tournament itself, and I have to ask you, what do you guys put in your Zambian water, huh? Because just 5, 6, 7 years ago, you'd be forgiven for not knowing a single Zambian women's football player. There was almost no one. And yet now you have like 4 or 5 players in the NWSL. Barbara Banda scoring the winning goal in the NWSL. Racheal Kundananji has been fantastic there. Like this is suddenly, one of the best, talent factories in the world, not even Africa in terms of talent. How has this happened? Why are you as a country so good at producing superstars?
Yeah, so I think it started gradually. We started slowly. I think we started as far back as the 1995s, early 2000s, with organizing a bit. Where, and unfortunately, we lost one of the founding and mothers and pioneers of women's football, Mama Saidi, who died, who was put to rest. I think was it the day before yesterday. We put her to rest. She was key in this. This because it started in parts, in compounds. They would organize a team this side. They would organize a team this side, and she was very key in the early stages of women's football. So from there, it started growing gradually. A lot of this talent, which was just out there, but slowly we started forming, I think, leagues. I think by 2010, I think we had, and then I think from that point on, um, the association started looking at it in a point where, oh, we could potentially be one of the big sides in Africa because of this talent that we have. They invested in those leagues, and then by 2014 we had qualified to the first under 17. I think that's the club where Barbara Banda and the like come from. So after that World Cup qualification, I think that changed a lot of things for us because everybody started looking at it. Oh, we could actually qualify for the World Cup because at the senior men's side, we've never been to the World Cup. It was only the under 20 boys. So from that under 17 girls, we started building on that, although it took us, I think, over a decade for us to actually go back to the under 17 World Cup again by 2024. It was last year, and of course, excuse me, and of course, 9 years to go to the Senior World Cup. But after that qualification, people started looking at it as, oh, this is something we could actually be good at. Started sending their kids out there. And lucky enough for us in terms of women's football, because the biggest challenge with Africa in terms of football is the balance between school and sport is not defined properly. So usually players come into the football circles late, but for women's football, mostly you find even in the at our highest league, which is the Women's Super League, and the second highest, which is the women's national division. You find for our current under 17 national team, the left back, who's actually a winger, she's 13 years old. She's in primary school, and she's playing in the second highest division. She's 13. She made her debut in a World Cup qualifier. It was so impressive coming off the bench that the next game the coach decided to start her. She went to the under 17 regional tournament, the COSAFA, played all the games. She's going to the under 20 COSAFA as we speak. She's going probably to play all the games. That's how good this kid is. She's only 13. And that's the part where for women's football we are catching them early. There's so much development as early as possible. Evelyn was making debut at the Olympics by 18. Barbara went straight from the under 17 World Cup, because Barbara went to the under 17 World Cup at 13. She was coming from the under 17 World Cup directly to the senior team. She was playing under 17, under 20, and senior team at 14, 15 years. So that's why we were, is because you get so much experience playing all these big games, and that's why even the association started, oh, let's put in this. So lower divisions, each province in Zambia has got a women's league, second tier, and with CAF now saying every team playing in the CAF Champions League should have a active women's league. So teams are now forced to be able to support this thing and do slowly, but surely we are getting there. As of last season, we are the sponsor for the Women's Super League, our highest division, for the first time. So there's things are slowly changing, but of course the work that has been done by the pioneers like Mama Said, who's late, may her soul rest in peace. Our father, Mr. Mwamba Kalenga, from his days where the women's league started from, past first presidents, and all these others, and of course for the club owners who've been sorely investing in this from their pockets, like Bernard Mwamba at Riyando Foundation Girls, Kaluba Kangwa at Busa, there's what's his name at Football Chance. So many of these who are investing in these girls because they see the future. They invest from their own pockets. So it's really been amazing, and of course good to see where we are now. But of course there's a lot more to be done and a lot more to come from Zambia.
Mm. Yeah, I mean it's a remarkable story, and I love it because it's a story of investment and hard work and structures being in place. It's not just we know we're lucky we have these some players who appear who become amazing, but actually it's right from individual schools, clubs, all the way through to the federation actually putting investment and seeing the results of that. And I think particularly in women's football, it's so easy to put that investment in, the amount of money you put in compared to men's football to see far greater success because it's a newer field is amazing. And I think it's brilliant that Zambia have kind of identified that and be rewarded for that. Let's get into this because obviously Zambia, you kind of came from nowhere. Obviously, you have that U17 side, I guess, the World Cup, and then eventually you have that Olympic side that, famously when Barbara Banda kind of announced herself to the world with the two hat tricks, and you had those amazing games against like the Netherlands. Then you come into the WAFCON in 2022, and obviously for those who don't know, Barbara Banda and Racheal Kundananji weren't able to play. There's a huge kind of scandal, really, to be honest, that they weren't selected after perceived to be failing DSD rules. Ludicrous. But without them, with the likes of Grace Chanda starring, Shamari Mapepa in particular impressed me on that wing. You guys still get to the semi-final. This is, your first time you've ever made it out of the group stage. You make it to the semi. You push South Africa to penalties. Obviously, South Africa go on to win it. You then beat Nigeria in the third place place. Obviously, this Nigeria side was on strike at the time, but it's still an amazing achievement for you guys to do that. And then you go to the World Cup, and you get beat. You're in a tough group, the likes of Spain and Japan. You lose those games, but you get that all important first win, the first 3 points for Zambia. What was that like for the nation to be at a World Cup, the first time, men's or women's, and to get a win, not just to show up, but actually compete?
I think after what we did at WAFCON with youngsters, I think for Evelyn, I think that was her first tournament because at the Olympics in 2021, she just played. She came on the loss against Brazil in the last 5 minutes, and then WAFCON, she was a starter. All games impressed, one of the best players at the tournament, and she was still just I think 18, 19. And this is Xiomara's first tournament, also coming from the under 20 Ochumba, being important in that tournament. Of course, led by Grace Chanda, who was amazing, and our top goal scorer. So I think after that, everybody felt that wow, we could do great things. But at the end of the day, we were, because that was our first qualification. Obviously, our rankings were not so good. We were going to always be in a very tough group. Excuse me. We were in a group with Spain, probably the best women's team in the world at the moment. Japan, a former world winner, some of the best players in the world, and it was just unfortunate, and we were just in a very bad group that we couldn't do much about, and some I think for everybody at the end of the day, after realizing what it was, we all realized that okay, we actually were thrashed in kind of in a difficult situation and we couldn't do much about it. But then we got our win and it was exciting because at the end of the day, we got our first win at the World Cup and we played better when we faced a team that was closer to our level. We beat them 3-1. We got Banda scoring the 1000th goal of the World Cup. Kundananji getting a goal. What's the name? Lucio Momemba as the first goal scorer for Zambia with that beautiful strike from Avelchton corner. So it was amazing for us to just end the tournament with a win, given how tough it was. And I still remember when they came back on the way from the airport, because I got on the bus with them going to the hotel, and then I was having a conversation with Baba. She's like, the game against Japan, she was explaining how it went and everything. So I was just laughing at how good Japan was. So from that time on, like I started because before the tournament I'd watched a bit of Japan on YouTube and everything. From that time on, started watching even the games. Everywhere I could catch a live game for Japan, I would watch them,
Mm.
just how good they were, and even following their player like the midfielders at Man City and things like that, just to just understand how good these guys were and everything. So it was good. We got our first win, and of course we've been back to back Olympics, WAFCON. It's been really an impressive run for us. Hopefully, we can continue building on this because at the end of the day, this should be motivation even for the girls like Faith, who's 13, who's coming up, to look at it from that angle. And now we have Messi Pasula, who's been amazing with the under 17, qualifying to the World Cup as captain, and now she's in the senior team and she will be at WAFCON for the first time alongside Mapalo Malua teammate. So those girls, like, that's what it's about for me, to see all those girls get to that chance to get to that level. All these have been idolizing players like Kundananji, players like Racheal Nachula, Kabange Mpopo, Barbara Band. Now they get to play with them in the same team, get to train with them, get
Mm.
to work with them, and just learn from them. I think that's where the motivation comes from, and I hope we can do well at this WAFCON.
Mm. So you're talking about the WAFCON. We'll get into this team first, is because you've got this unreal attack that really almost any country in the world would want. Not just Banda, not just Kundananji, but yeah, you're mentioning like Frida Mukoma coming in. So we've already talked about Mapepa. Racheal Nachula holding down the midfield, Grace Chanda, Priska Chilufya, like both at Orlando Pride along with Banda. This is a crazy attack, in terms of the options you have. It's unreal, like, genuinely. But the big problem for you guys has been on the other side of the pitch defensively. We saw that at the Olympics, we saw that at the World Cup, and that has been where the challenge is. How you've now got obviously Nora Haptul, which I think is an excellent signing in terms of a coach. She did brilliantly with Ghana, qualified them for the WAFCON. Probably would have been their coach if the WAFCON took place last year like it was meant to. But Zambia's gain is Ghana's loss. How do you go about sorting that, because it is such a top heavy team, such an attacking team? how do you think Nora will do, and in terms of approaching actually trying to balance this team out to make it defensively structured whilst also allowing for the likes of Banda and Kundananji to do what they do best?
I think now for her, I think the challenge now is to find a balance, like you've said. But at the point where we've reached, I think with the time that she has, which was not a lot, she's been. We've seen from the friendlies we had against Malawi and then in South Africa with South Africa and Botswana. I think she's been trying to play more of a fluid game, the passing game. But I don't think we at the moment have quite the quality to play that game in terms of coming from the back. I think she just needs to find a balance of what will work best for our attackers. I think for me, at this point where we are, just to outscore the opponents because the defense is, like you said, our biggest problem. We're obviously going to concede goals here and there. So, but we have a strike force that could outscore everybody. So we just need to find a way to make them tick, create as many chances for them because give Barbara 5, 6 chances, you know she's going to get 3, 4 goals for you. So if you're going to do that, Kundananji, same thing. You have Mapepa Priest, Grace Chanda, all these. So they're going to do all that for you. So once you make them tick, Freedom Coma also been doing fantastic in China on loan from Kansas City. So there's all this quality up front. So just need to make the midfield tick, create chances for the strikers, and will be good to go. I think for me that's the best option at the moment. And obviously, I'm sure the coach has had chance to watch even our previous games against Morocco because I think we've played Morocco 5 times, we've beat them 3 times, we've lost once, and we've drawn once.
Yeah, it's a good record, and it's a good thing you have that good record because obviously, well, let's talk about the group because you're in a group with the hosts Morocco, with Senegal, and with DR Congo. By far the most difficult group at this tournament. This is the group of death without a doubt. Like you said, you've got an excellent record against Morocco, but this is going to be different because you're playing at a WAFCON. You're playing in that opening game against Morocco, and then you go on to play Senegal and then DR Congo. But it's also super important that you actually get the result against Morocco, isn't it? Because in this group, because of the tournament's only 12 teams, 3 groups, and we have the best place, third place teams going through. Second place in this group plays the winner of Group B, which chances are is going to be Nigeria. So if you want to avoid Nigeria, because otherwise, you've got an easier path at least to the semifinal, and then you might play South Africa or Morocco again. You have to get the result against Morocco. How confident are you coming into that first game? Because you played Morocco before in Rabat, yes, but those were, Olympics qualifiers. This wasn't the biggest game. And Morocco, we know will take it seriously. We know the kind of money they have in this team, the investment, the support, the coaching staff they've got. Obviously, Jorge Vilda won the World Cup with Spain. How confident are you going into that first game against Morocco?
Well, I think it's dependent on which Copper Queens shows up on the day. We haven't been very good in the last 4 games that we've played, but when we mean to show up as a team, we do show up, and our girls do play very well. So I think at the end of the day, it just needs like for them to understand that they need that win more than anything. I think they need to get inspiration from the last qualifier that we played, the last game that we played Morocco away in Morocco when we beat them 2-0 because they beat us 2-1 here. And I remember there's a famous video that went viral just after the game when we lost here. It was of Barbara having a conversation with her teammates, and it went like, then she was speaking to them. Excuse me. She was speaking to them in our local language, but the translation is the same way they've beaten us here. That's the same way. uh, sorry. The translation was the same way they've beaten us here. That's the same way we're going to beat them there. And people didn't think much of it after the game because we're like, she's just saying because they've lost, whatnot. Speak after you win and everything. Then after they won, everybody replayed that video and saying she said this, and then she went and scored 2 goals there. So then like, she said she knew, and she's like, the same way they've beaten us here, they've come here and beaten us. So we're going to beat them at their home also. and then she went and led the team to a 2-0 win. So we have got all these motivations that where we can get from, and of course be able to push and get the win that we need. I think it's a 50-50% chance because Morocco have been fantastic in the pre-WAFCON friendlies. I've been following them. Um, Ibissam Gerard has been scoring goals. Fatma Tagnot is like, for me, the best Moroccan player in that team. Shabak, the captain, also fantastic. It's quite a good team, and of course, even the coach, top coach in the world. So it's going to be a very difficult game for us. But at the end of the day, we've got the quality to get the win. We just need to show up on the day, create as many chances for Barbara Kundananji, and the rest of the strike force will be able to get a win.
100%. Yeah, and I think as well, I think I love that you bring up Barbara and her kind of capacity to show up in those games because I think, if anything, the one thing maybe we could say against her is, okay, yeah, she scored lots of goals and she scored lots of goals for Zambia, but has she done it at the big stage? In the World Cup, she only scored in the last game when you were already knocked out. Same with kind of the Olympics, there wasn't anything riding on it because you weren't getting out of their groups. But now we've seen her at Orlando Pride showing up in the biggest games in women's club football, scoring in the NWSL final. She has that experience now, and it's the amount of experience she has is crazy in terms of playing in WAFCONs. She's been playing, like you said, since she was like 15, playing kind of top level football and senior football. I want to get your sense, Aaron. I want to get your prediction about this tournament. But first, before I actually get your prediction, what is the expectations back home in Zambia? What are they expecting? Is it okay? Actually, we should be winning this tournament now with the players we've got, or is there a recognition that we're still growing? If we get into the semifinals, that's an achievement. What is the kind of expectations back home?
I think for the new coach that we have, because of the kind of status that she comes with, everybody expects us to reach the final because with our previous coach, Coach Bruce Mope, we went to the semi-finals and without Barbara Kundananji and the whole pack of our attackers. So people are expecting us to reach the final. It's not really that straightforward, obviously, but that's the sense I get from most of our people. They expect us to go all the way to the final, but it's not going to be easy. Like I've said, the players, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for them to get to the final. But of course, the quality we do have, and of course, coupled with Coach Nora's experience and technical know-how, we might find ways to win even tough games and be able to reach that final. But at the end of the day, I think for me personally, I think semi-final going up is okay for me because at the end of the day, we haven't been done very well in the pre-WAFCON friendlies, so it's a bit tricky for me to say we're going to win all the way. And of course, Nigeria would want to again claim their status. South Africa wants to defend it. Morocco wants to win it. So I think there's a lot riding on this. And of course, DR Congo at club level with TP Mazembe being the backbone of their team did very well. We won the Champions League and all those players coming. One of them is already in the NWSL. So there's a whole lot. And even Senegal, when we qualified to the World Cup, we just beat them just in on post match penalties. It would have gone either way. So it's not the easiest of groups that we're in. So it's going to be a tricky tournament. But of course, from the sense that I get, people want us to go all the way and win it. Hopefully we do. But yeah.
Well, and I certainly hope Zambia go far and I hope that Nora takes the approach you're saying in terms of we just outscore teams, because if there is any team that can outscore any opposition, it is Zambia. It is the Copper Queens with the incredible firepower you've got going forward. Aaron, it is a pleasure as always. Looking forward to the tournament. Looking forward to seeing you there, and hope to catch you in the next one.